Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again. Then this is episode 10 of the Soft Bites podcast. Hello, Andre. How are you? Welcome.
Hi, Manuela. Nice to see you again. Always a pleasure to be here. And I think that in this episode, you'll have to teach me a lot of stuff because I think we are in your zone.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about happiness at work. So what is the science telling us? And I have selected three main skills that I think that are the most researched ones until now, and that they are very, very useful for dentists, not only for dentists, but I find them very useful in the everyday dentistry work. So we are going to talk about presence, gratitude, and resilience. And of course, we can add several more things here, but for this not to be very, very long, I think these three will be our main focus today. And I think we'll start by presence, and this is something that I talk about every day now since I started. Even before, but since I started my mindful dentistry program, it's basically that's what I teach. I teach presence, and even if mindfulness is not only presence, but the mindfulness practice will bring you this presence, and I think that what we could talk about today is how will this presence help you to be a happier dentist? And what my feedback and my personal experience is that this presence will allow you to remain centered. And this, of course, will reflect on your work. And to add a little bit more to this, I will say that because I think that when we talk about presence, it's of course it's very simple. We think it's very simple. But if we not only bring presence to pay it as a way to pay attention to what's happening, but also to pay attention to what's happening inside of us. So to bring attention not only to the surroundings and to what we are doing, but also to what's happening inside of us. So to our thoughts, to our emotions, to our feelings, to our body sensations, to our movements, even to our behaviors, then it's not so simple. And also what I see and the feedback that I have when I talk about present and when I teach this presence, so this mind-body connection, is that usually people don't notice how distracted they are and how much their attention is pulled away, and only when they start to pay attention they start noticing. And this presence that once again I say it seems so simple, but it's so difficult. I would like to ask you, why do you think it's so difficult to be present in our everyday life?
I think that we were not born this way. This is not our natural state. I think we did this to ourselves. Um, and that's the obvious reason is that the pace that we live today, it's just, I think in some senses, we have lost the notion of what's reasonable in terms of workload, in terms of working hours, in terms of pressure, in terms of what it is expected for you to achieve in life, right? So it is expected that you, as a dentist, not expected, but you can easily fall into the trap of working too much. You can easily find yourself in the trap of having a lot of um, demands and expectations and responsibilities, which means an adequate financial income, right? And when you have that pressure to have that financial income, sometimes you say, "Well, I'm tired, but I have to work because I have these bills to pay at the end of the month, and maybe for whatever reason, maybe for the, for example, I feel a lot of pressure myself. I feel a lot of pressure of it's not that much for myself. I was never a big fan of expensive houses or expensive cars or expensive clothes. That's not what drives me. Of course, I want my comfort, but my main pressure, for example, is the stability of the staff. I mean, will the I have now 6 assistants. It's a lot, you know. It's a lot of there's a lot of money at the end of the month, and so the challenge is okay. How can I accept that? Yes, I do need to work, but I can also it can't be too much overwhelming, right? So this is a very typical example of how you get this centered. Okay, so sometimes instead of you being actually doing the work and preparing the veneer and being in the moment, sometimes you are thinking, well, I'm too late for that patient, or we need to tomorrow or for the next month we need to make more money, or that dental assistant didn't behave correctly, and it's a lot of pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and presence is it's almost impossible to maintain. I mean, in as a dentist, where what would be my ideal? I don't say ideal, but the scenario that I would have more presence. I mean, if I worked in India in like volunteer work where I would see a couple of patients per morning, and people were very thankful, and I was like in an office in the middle of a field or something, or if I was, I don't know, maybe in Costa Rica in a fishing town where I had my small dental office that I would treat fishermen, then I think I would be much more present. So it's the basic. The thing is that success, and this is just to wrap it up. Success brings complexity, and I say this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we are addicted to success in a certain way. We are addicted because we have expectations. I mean, we are expected to have a house, we are expected to have a family, and some people are expected to have this car and that car, and it is expected that we are successful towards our peers, and it is expected that we can give good education to our kids. I mean, we have all these expectations that everybody created, and sometimes we forgot the most important, which is human relationships. Basically, that's the most important.
Yeah.
So yes, I think the answer is very very easy to that question. Why is it so difficult to be present? It's difficult because our head is all over the place, because there's a lot of demands, and yes, we most of these issues we create them ourselves, because we cannot have just a regular office. We need to have a fancy office, or and yes, and all of a sudden we see ourselves with this huge pressure above us, and it's very, very easy for any dentist that owns a practice. Um, if he does clinical work himself as well, it's almost he knows exactly, or she knows exactly what we are talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things that I teach is to bring that presence. So to be able in the middle of all of that you just described, to be able to be more present, because sometimes what happens is that if you are not aware, and for me, presence and awareness come together. So for you to be present, you have to have self-awareness. So it's all part of the same package. But sometimes if you are not aware, what can happen is that you live your lives in automatic pilot, and you live your lives just inside of your head, just with the rational part, because a lot of what you said that is our heads working, right? Is our heads working on all the things that we have to do, and all the things and all the obligations that we are expected to deliver. And sometimes what happens is that we are completely disconnected from our body. So we are just living on the intellectual part of our mind. And presence, what I try to also bring here with this notion of presence, is this mind-body connection. Is for us to access to
Look,
our...
I was taking some notes here. Let me show. I was taking some notes here. Mind body, you see?
Yeah, that's it. So it's because you if you just live inside your head, then you are denying yourself part of your wisdom. Right? You don't access to your body intelligence.
Yes.
And I already said this in another episode. I think that in dentistry, body intelligence is very important for dentists. So call it intuition, call it there's several names that you can call it. But what I see is that this presence is it will bring you also this body wisdom, this body intelligence. And with that, of course, the emotional intelligence, because emotions are expressed in the body. And if you are completely disconnected, then you completely ignore them. And then also you don't develop emotional intelligence. So presence comes with awareness. Presence comes with this body-mind connection, that it's very, very important. And again, what we are talking is a skill. Presence is a skill. That means that you can learn it. That means that you can develop. That means that you can train it. This is very important. And that's why you learn presence through mindfulness, through the mindfulness training, and you need the meditation practice so that you can develop this presence. I usually say that mindfulness without meditation is just a word. You need to train. It's like lifting weights in the gym. You need to train the muscle of presence. You need to train the muscle of awareness. But and this is confirmed by research. If you develop this skill, if you work on developing this muscle of presence, this muscle of awareness, then you will increase your focus, you will increase your concentration, you will increase your effectiveness at work. You will work from a place of groundness, from a much more, you will be much more centered. You will approach your clinical challenges with more inner calm, with more clarity, and you are going to take control and decisions from this place of presence. So from this place of clarity, which is a completely different place than if you take decisions from a place of reactivity, from a place of automatic pilot. Sometimes that's a place of bias also. So you're going to take decisions based already on
prejudgments,
on judgments that might not be real. They are just conceptions from your head. But since you are just operating from your rational part, which I want to say nothing wrong with the rational part. That's not that's not what I'm saying. But you can add more to that. You can add also your body wisdom. Tell me if this makes sense to you.
Well, for me, it makes perfect sense because I've been whenever I talk about these things, whenever I talk to you in the podcast about these things, I always feel that I have a lot to learn here. Like I was telling you, for example, and I do meditate a lot. I meditate almost daily, at least 10, 20 minutes. I do that. It helped me a lot. The first time that I started to read about yoga was in the year of 2000, in 98, when I bought a book from Amazon. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, honestly. I just knew there's something that I think that yoga may eventually tell us something about how we can exercise our mind. And there must be something out there. I started to read about that. I did yoga for a few years, and I still do it. And I do some solutions, right? How do you call it?
Asanas.
I do. Yes, I do some asanas in the morning. Not every. Most of my exercise is not yoga, but I do it often. I do meditate as well, but I still have a lot to learn here. I still have a lot to learn because I am easily caught in the rat race, in the washing machine, like a friend of mine says. We are easily caught in the washing machine, and I have a lot to learn here. I have to learn a lot. I think men in general. I don't want to be biased here, but we are much less connected to our mind, to our emotional part, and the practice of mindfulness makes you much more aware of what's going on inside your body. And I was here taking some notes. I was telling you that I'm doing the program of Leah Ligo. And one of the things that she says in the preface of the book is that stress does not come from the mind. She really believes that stress comes mainly from the body. Yeah. And she gives the example of the vagus nerve that connects the brain and the heart and the organs. And she says that 80% of the activity is actually bottom up, not up down. This means that our brain gets a lot of information from the state of our body, from the heart, from the organs. So basically, whatever we do with this machine, our brain eventually will suffer. And I think we have usually the wrong interpretation, which means my mind is not working okay. I must first make sure that I feel better, and then I will eventually start to do something from my body to exercise. I will not exercise unless I feel better, which is the opposite thing that you should do. Basically, it's your physiology, like Tony Robbins says, that changes your psychology. And I have a lot to learn here, and I am at a point of my life where I really want to. And I think this podcast has helped me a lot. Whenever we talk, we also talk to ourselves. And most of the things that we have talked about here in this podcast have been having a subtle, not so subtle, but indirect effect on myself. And I see myself unconsciously practicing even more of the stuff that I preach. I'm delegating even more. I'm saying more and more times no to patients. I'm not even sometimes even feeling bad for delegating this or that because I really need to. But this part of being present and understanding your emotions, understanding your body, and being aware of what is going on inside you, so you can deliver the best version of you in the work environment. I think this is something that I am much better. I have to say I'm much better throughout the years. I have been much better. I've yoga has helped me a lot, and meditation has helped me a lot, and reading about this stuff has helped me a lot. Because at the end of the day, either if you read leadership, if you read sports, if you read whatever, if you read any task that demands some sort of high performance, which dentistry demands quite a high performance because it's a very sensitive job. But whatever you read, you will always end up in the same thing, which is presence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of the coaches in most areas will want their students to practice presence, either through visual meditation, guided meditation, transcendental, whatever. But presence is a common ground of every type of performance. And yes, this is something that I think that is the thing where I am. It's my not as good part of me as a professional and as a leader. And I'm improving, but I definitely get caught very easily during the day, and I get reactive very easily. I'm much better now, but it's something that I need to improve. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Just a few notes on what you had just said about the body being the center of everything. That's exactly it. And in the 8 weeks training, mindfulness training, we always start by the body. The first exercise, the first meditation exercise is a body scan, which is a progressive muscle relaxation, basically. Mm-hmm. And also basically what the mindfulness training also does is it's a tool to help calm the sympathetic response and bring on the more sympathetic, parasympathetic response. So, because we totally forgot it. and this is very interesting because when in my training, colleagues understand that, and I explain all the physiology again of the sympathetic, parasympathetic, which we are doing. And I say, look, this is what you've been training. And this happens around the week 4 or 5. And I said, look, this is what you've been doing. Basically, you've been learning to activate your parasympathetic. And it's like a light bulb in their brains and says, okay, this makes sense. Yeah. And this is why also this training is so good for dentists, because we understand all the physiology. Sometimes you just have to remember it, but this is all this is all physiology. So but we always start by the body, so we have to be able to connect with our bodies again. And what I also observe is that for some colleagues, this is so difficult because they are so disconnected and so tense. They spend their days in this tense state, this muscle tension, that they really need time. And I have situations of colleagues that took more time than 8 weeks to finish the training, because their body needs time they need time to connect. They need time again to feel their body. They need time again to bring this intentional relaxation, because this is all about being intentional. And of course, if you do the exercises, then in a very natural way, but also in a guided way, and with specific exercises, you start to bring it to your daily life and to your work. But it's so important to bring this notion that presence is not just to pay attention to what's happening. It's very important, of course, to pay attention for what's happening around you. But presence, in the first place, is to pay attention to what's happening inside you. So it's not something outside. Presence is not paying attention to what's happening outside you. In the first place, for you to be able to really pay attention to what's happening in your surroundings, first, you need to pay attention to what's happening inside you, because only by doing that you can bring the action and not the reaction. So only by first paying attention to what's happening inside you. And again, what's happening inside you, it's thoughts, emotions, feelings, body sensations, movements, behaviors, tension. Just this example that I give to dentists. So when you are working, when you start a treatment, just pay attention to the specific zones and bring in, again, this is very important, intentional relaxation to the space between your eyebrows, your jaw, relax your shoulders, really bring your shoulders down, relax your belly.
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah. Feel your feet touching the ground, feel your posture, because there's a big difference in when you are up and when you are seated, right? And you bring this intentional relaxation to your muscles. And if you, together with this, do a deep breath in and you really feel your lungs and you feel your back coming up, and then on your exhale you bring this relaxation again on those points, this will immediately send a message to your body and to your brain. This will immediately activate your parasympathetic. This will immediately say, okay, she's safe, he's safe, let's do this, let's work from this place of presence. So this is a very simple exercise that you can do when you start your work with the patient. And this is very important. What I usually say in my courses, of course, when you start training this, you may do this on your first patient on the morning or on your first patient on the afternoon. But this is to do in every patient that you have. You have to remember yourself to bring presence, because this does not come naturally. Like you said in the beginning, the way that we live our lives is not from this place of presence. We live our lives on the automatic pilot from, okay, let's do it. We have to deliver. So this is something that you, for the ones listening, that you can start doing on your first patient in the morning, on your first patient in the afternoon. But once it comes in a natural way on your first patient, then you have to start doing it in every patient, because that's how you train that's how you train that presence. It doesn't come in a natural way. It's a skill. It has to be trained. It has to be learned. There's a technique.
Mm-hmm.
It can be learned, but you have to train it. You have to train it, but it will bring you a lot of benefits. One of the benefits is it's physio. We just talked about it. There's a physiologic activation
of the parasympathetic.
Yeah, you will have more energy. You will have less anxiety, better focus, attention, memory. All the details you will be able to be that usually you don't pay attention to them, but you will see that in the end of the day things will be different if you start working from this place of presence instead of a place of automatic pilot. And then, of course, if you with the meditation practice also, you will feel in your mind. So if you are in the procedure and your mind is racing for the patient that you're going to have next, or for the one that you had before and it didn't went as you wanted, you are going to be able in a very natural way to notice it and to bring your mind to what you are actually doing instead of being worried about the future or the past. So this presence will also, in a very natural way, bring you to the present moment. And if you are in the present moment, your anxiety will lower drastically. I mean, it's the anxiety comes from you being or regretting or worried about what you did or worried about the future. If you are actually in the present moment, in dentistry, this is very easy to see, because in dentistry you have the technical part, right? So sometimes all dentists have to do is to remember themselves to be in the present moment and to remember themselves that they trained for what they are doing. They have the technical ability to perform the treatment, and that will eliminate all the anxiety, and that they can return to work from this place of flow, because it's very easy to achieve if you train this skill, if you train presence. It's working on the chair and the mouth of the patient. It's very easy to achieve the state of flow. Of course, dentistry is not only working on the mouth of the patient, as we already as we've been talking.
Yeah, but it helps. You know, the fact, yes, the fact that you need to be aware. You can sometimes even find the procedure as a meditation itself.
Yeah. That's it. That's exactly it. And that's the feedback that I receive, is that work itself, it can be a form of meditation.
Meditation, of course, because it's very focused on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's. There is a lot of things to say about this, but let's go to the second skill that for me, it's very important in the science of happiness at work, which is gratitude. And this is another one that I think that everyone can agree that it's a skill that can make us more happy and can lead to enjoying the day better. But, and I will say this again, just the same thing as presence, gratitude is a skill and it needs also practice. And it's just not a nice attribute, you know, to have. It's a science-based tool also, and it can support us through challenging times, and research shows that it can help to balance us. I see, I don't know how you see gratitude, because I have a practice of gratitude even on meditation, and nowadays sometimes I see even gratitude as an emotion, because I can really connect with this feeling of gratitude. It's like a warm place in my chest when I do my gratitude practice. But for me, I see it also as a grounding skill. It's a great way to balance my mindset. I don't know what are your thoughts about gratitude? I don't know if you have a gratitude practice.
I journal, and in that sense I have a gratitude practice, and I think I keep reminding myself, and I keep in interactions with other people, I keep telling myself how lucky I am to have what I have in my life and the people that I have in my life, and both personally and professionally. But I think that gratitude for me is a way of acknowledging the presence of love in your life, whether in the work or in your personal life. And for me, I think that's the key. Gratitude is just a way of acknowledging the amount of love that is around you, because it's there, right? Sometimes we forget it, but it is there. And there are much more people that care about and that love us, and they want the best from you that what we can imagine. I think the vast majority of people are genuinely good, and they want good things from you and for you. But I think that sometimes we forget that, and it's not difficult to forget that. Like you're saying, I whether in presence I try to practice it. Gratitude, I have to be honest, I never practice it. I used to journal. Sometimes I do some journaling, and journaling the biggest component of journaling is actually gratitude, right? Because you are writing down the things that that went good in your day or in your week or in your month. But it's not something that I intentionally practice. And like you were saying, I was actually surprised to realize that you were saying that it's a skill that needs to be practiced as well.
It's an intentional
And
practice.
yeah, yeah. I think that I've talked to you about this Martin Seligman book, Authentic Happiness, which was one of the first times that they talked about positive psychology. And one of the things that I was actually very surprised is that the amount of gratitude and positive words and the acknowledgement of positivity around one's personal life is a very good predictor of lifespan, which is amazing. There's that study from nouns, right? That they went to see the amount of positive words in each of their own diaries, and they could find a very good correlation between lifespan and the amount of positive words and gratitude that was present in their diaries. And this is really, really surprising. And but it's true. I never looked at it as a skill that you should practice. I think that I think about gratitude and I talk about gratitude when I remember. I don't do it deliberately. I don't do it, which is something that I should consider probably.
Yeah, it's an intentional practice. You have to be very intentional about it. And it completely, again, in a physiological way, when we express gratitude, our brain releases dopamine and serotonin, and we feel lighter and happier, and also shifts our focus from what is going wrong or what we don't have to what we actually have. And I usually say this because this works very well with dentists, is that you cannot ever be happy with what you want to achieve if you are not already happy with what you have. So gratitude has this magic of you being instantly happy with what you have. And and gratitude is very, very, you can have a diary, you can journal, you can have a gratitude partner, like find someone and every day text or email 3 things, for example, that you are grateful for. When I started, I did this exercise with a friend of mine. Every day we emailed each other with the 3 things that we are grateful for. And the wonderful thing about that is that you start with very obvious things like your job, your family, your health. And then because it's every day and these 3 things, then you really you really find things that you are not aware of it.
Details.
That you are not aware of it.
Very small details.
Yeah, very small details. That's it. But I usually recommend that when you find and again, this comes with, you have to have awareness, right? So if you, when you are aware that you are stuck in this state of worry during your day, and this is a way of trigger gratitude in ourselves. You have to pause and just reflect. And there's a lot of things that you can reflect. I mean, you can, for example, I have a gratitude exercise, and I have some question. I give some questions, and it's like, what have I learned recently that helped me grow in my job? What physical abilities do I have that I take for granted?
Yes, your health.
Yeah, who at work I'm happy to see each day and why. So it's for you to notice the little details.
How amazing life is.
Because what happens is that we, as humans, we have the negativity bias. It's normal. We all have it. And then if something good happens, we don't give the same attention to it as something negative or bad happens.
Yeah, because we are biologically wired to be much more reactive because we want, it's a protective reaction, right? We are wired from millions and millions of years of protecting ourselves.
Yeah, so we have to intentionally noticing the good things, and gratitude practice helps you to do that more naturally, in a more natural way. So that's why it's also have a positive impact in your day, because you much easier will give attention to the good things. And this is not about only see the good. This is about balance, right? So at least the good things at the same level at the bad as the bad things. And this is a question. This is a very interesting question that I always also do. If we as humans are naturally wired for the negative and we don't notice as much the positive, right? What happens to the routine? What happens to the everyday things that we do, like driving to work, like getting dressed, like
they become a source of happiness, I would say.
Yeah. If you notice them, yes, but usually you don't notice them because you are an automatic pilot.
Yes. Yeah. Just noticing the trees while you are driving. But for example, today I went to work in Porto. I'm from Espinho. And whenever I can, I make sure that I go. I don't go directly into Porto. I just go at least a few miles to see the ocean. That's something that I always try to do. And it cheers up my journey. But it could be doing something else. It could be listening to a song. It could be, but like you say, I think giving value to the smallest thing is very important. The fact that you are healthy, you are here, you have people around you.
Yeah, and if you have a gratitude practice, if you start developing, if you go to the details, what you just told me now about, you will start to appreciate the fact that you have a car, that your car is working perfectly, that you start appreciating the little things that that completely we take for granted. We take for granted. So that's the magic of gratitude. And also research says that with the gratitude practice, people are healthier, happier, and have better relationships. So I think that for the science of happiness at the job, I think gratitude is a very, very important practice. And I will in the show notes, we'll leave a gratitude exercise or several ways that you can have a gratitude practice, because I think this is a real simple one, and you can have access to instant happiness if you develop this, and if you train your gratitude every day. And I don't know if you want to say something else about gratitude.
Oh, I think that's it. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that that's exactly what you said.
So, and we are moving on to the third skill that I chose for us to talk about today, which is resilience, and it has a lot about. I mean, gratitude enters here in resilience also. I think you become more resilient if you have a gratitude practice. But I chose resilience for us to talk today because I think that nowadays resilience is and correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a different opinion, but I think that nowadays resilience is seen, or some people see it as resignation, or as sometimes even as submission. Is this thing that you have to accept and
to bear, and you have to bear the
yeah,
load.
that's it. You have to accept and you have to bear it. And I see resilience in a completely different way. I see resilience as the ability to recover from adversity.
Yes, exactly.
I see resilience.
Basically, yes, because I think, and I'm not sure, but I think that resilience from a physical standpoint is the ability to come back after some sort of stress or deformation. So it's the ability to get back up.
And I think this is also a very important skill, and in dentistry, in special I think it's important for dentists to be resilient, because it's, of course, there are happy phases and happy moments, but there will be for sure challenging moments in your career. There will be for sure adversity moments in your career.
Yes.
And resilience helps you to adapt and to thrive. It builds the capacity to continue to be productive while dealing with challenging times or with challenging circumstances. And when I talk about resilience, and the reason why it's not the same as resignation or as submission, I always talk about the part of acceptance, because it's the big difference. Of course, you have to accept things as they are, and not as you want them to be, or as you wish them to be. And acceptance is the first step. But then you have the capacity to
get back up.
That's it, to change things. So you don't have to be submissive. You don't have to resignate if you are not happy with the situation. But you have the capacity to do something about it. Yeah. And
be active on that.
And usually what I have is this question: okay, so how can I be how can I be resilient? How can I not be submissive but resilient? And there are several tools that can help you with that. And for example, develop clarity. So learning to manage your stress, learning to deal with situations that you feel overwhelmed, learning to stay calm when you are facing those situations, learning to work with difficult emotions, learning about emotional intelligence.
So it's more complex and more comprehensive to be resilient.
Yeah, but what?
I thought that you are going to give me like this small trick, and then you are resilient. But no, I see it's complex.
No.
It's comprehensive, right? It's a mix of several things.
Yeah, that's it. It's not.
Yes, but it's very, and sorry to interrupt you, because I would love to hear you talk more about this, because I find this fascinating. Because number one, we often think that we can completely minimize or reduce or avoid mistakes and failures. And when we are successful for a long time, we may get that feeling, right? But we both know that it's just a question of time, that from one way or another, you will fail.
Yeah.
I mean, in every, it may be a technical failure in dentistry. It may be a more dramatic technical failure, like for example, this week I had a patient that came with implants in his hand. He had 4 implants and he broke 2 of them. The other ones were with screws inside. Just a complete mess. A few years ago, I would probably have poor night of sleep. Um, but I think that today I just look. We just have to do a denture now and let everything heal, and then we'll see from there. And this capacity of, okay, this was a big issue. The patient understood also because like you were saying, it's a comprehensive attitude because, for example, in this patient, we have specifically warned him because his cholesterol levels were very high. We prescribed him some vitamin D. He stopped doing exercise during the pandemic. So basically, I saw his blood work, and he was pre-diabetic. The vitamin levels, he took the vitamin as we have prescribed because there's a lot of research on that now. So he could also understand that it was a biological error or a biological failure. It was something that we could not have avoided. For example, this guy was a guy that we even gave him Botox or the bruxism during the osteointegrating period. So we did whatever we could, and even still, he lost 2 implants, and he just a complete mess. But my point is that because of the prevention and the communication that we had, we could have managed the stress of the situation, and in a more, let's say, resilient way, we overcame the issue, and we are finding ways to solve it calmly and without drama. And sometimes, if it was our fault, I just assume the responsibility. But it's very interesting, and I would like to hear you talk more about that because I find this fascinating. And I think that it takes a lot of time for you to understand that you will have to deal with failures. I was talking about technical failures, but some other failures that have been close to me. Sometimes it happens in every company. People that sometimes you trust, they leave you, or staff that you think that you think they are happy, but they are not, and you have to talk to them and to realize what is the issue. But these small failures of everyday dentistry, whether technical, whether management, whether financially, I think I agree with what you say. It's not just one skill. It's a comprehensive mix of experience, prevention, responsibility, vulnerability, being honest, and I think there's a lot of things there. And for me, one that is that I that I think it's very important is and we've talked about that, is that you don't have to be perfect. It is okay to fail. It's not only okay, it's normal to fail. You will have to fail, and you will have to be able to develop some resilient skills. And sometimes resilience is not something, it's not like a comeback, an intense and aggressive comeback. It's not something that you have to, okay, I'm just reacting to this. Sometimes it's just a calming and assuring way that, yes, this has happened. Yes, we will deal with it. If we have responsibilities, we will assume our responsibilities, and that's it. Yeah. And if you are okay with what you do every day, you know that you did your best, the best way that you could, then yes, you'll have to deal with failures in a more smooth way. Let's say. And for me, I think that's. I don't know if it is what you mean, but I would like to hear more about that.
Summed up a lot of the tools that you need to be resilient. You just summed up a lot of the tools. So you talked a lot about self-compassion, about normalizing.
Accepting yourself.
Normalizing failure, learning with failure. You need a lot of self-compassion for that. Self-compassion is another skill that you need for resilience. You talked about the be creative. You have to be creative. You have to bring your curiosity. That's another part of mindfulness. Work on the curiosity. You have to be able to let go of your judgments. You have to be able to let go of working just based on like and dislike, and bring your curiosity to the game if you want to be resilient.
You have to dance.
Yeah.
You have
to work on your mindset skills and to adapt, right? I read something this week that was something like when we stop working on our individual skills, we stop growing. And sometimes what I see with certain colleagues is that you said it, and they are successful, so they tried it, it works. And then if it goes a little bit outside of what they are used to,
But the question, Manuela, is that it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. That's it. And because we both know that the normal condition of life is change.
Yeah. It's one of the few things that you have for sure. It's that things will for sure change.
So if everything is going well in your life, it's just a question of time until something, until the shit hits the fan. It's just a question of time. And it can be more dramatic or less dramatic, but it's just a question of time that sooner or later in your life, something, hopefully not very bad, but I mean, bad luck and uncertainty will knock on your door, and I think that living with that knowledge is very important, and this is why you need to. I don't think you can do it alone. That's what I think. I think if you are a leader, this is why I always talk about the fact that you need to bring other people into the process of dealing with it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your response, it's your decision, right? But you need to feel that you have a team that supports you. I mean, especially when it starts to, because it's one thing is when you work alone with your dental nurse. I mean, if something goes wrong, you have a new nurse, it's okay. But when you start really to delegate and work with more people, more staff, three dentists, 4 dentists, 5 dentists, 3 nurses, all of a sudden you have 10 people around you. And you need to and you need to trust them, because dealing with failure and it's not a single man job in dentistry. That's why.
Yeah, you're absolutely. It's absolutely right. That's another tool for resilience: is build trust, is to create a compassionate culture, especially on your team.
Yes.
And so that's.
I have to say, this was one of the last things that I learned in leadership. This was something really not natural to me, because I think that for many years, when you grow, you are achieving. You have more visibility, more patience, bigger practice, more comprehensive procedures. Until I think that once you start to bring, once you realize you have to bring more people to work with you, you realize that you need to really have a trust culture. You need to have a compassionate culture. People need to have your back. You need to have their back, because otherwise it's just not possible. Because the amount of things that in a practice, in a multidisciplinary practice, the amount of things that can go wrong every single day or every single month or every single week, they will go wrong. And it's just a question of, okay, is this going to affect me? Am I going to be miserable because this is happening? Or am I going to learn to dance within this and have fun within this and realize, because this will keep happening.
Yeah.
People will keep being sick. Patients will, especially in COVID times, patients will unschedule. Things will get broken. For example, if you have 4 dental units like I have, I mean, in a busy practice, if you have something that gets broken, and sometimes in COVID times it takes 3 weeks to get it fixed. Imagine what you have to do with your schedule for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's patients will sometimes get pissed off, but you just have to tell them, look, this is. We wish we could fix things earlier, but this is COVID, and it's yeah, we are here to. There's always
Yeah.
some. For example, in my case, I have the suction of my dental chair broken, and because of COVID, it took 3 weeks, and then the guy came to fix and said, "Well, it's not only this part. There's another part that's broken. We need another 3 weeks." And I was like, man, when he told me the second time, I was like, well, it's okay, because what I did, I just spent €100 in a portable suction, which is very noisy
Mm-hmm.
and almost doesn't suck anything. Actually, you cannot do a surgery there, but you can do some cleanings,
Mm-hmm.
you can do some preparations. I mean, the patient, we have to. It's difficult to do the suction, but we can do it. We managed to do it. We did not have to unschedule all the patients. But I'm laughing because I think it's funny when you have to learn to work in sometimes in chaotic situations and still have the thrill from
Mm-hmm.
it, because otherwise it just gets too boring, and if you don't have fun with
Yeah,
that,
but that.
and tell the patients, look, this suction, this really sucks. We have this broken because of COVID, and I know this is this is not a good suction, but
It's what it
it's
is.
what we
It's
could
what
do.
it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the first step. Like we were saying, the first step is always accepting what it is. But imagine that.
Yes.
Imagine that every time you had a patient for those 3 weeks working with that suction, you on your mind you will be like, and this is happening, and it's
Yes,
taking three
exactly.
weeks,
Oh,
and
but I easily do that, Manuela. For example, over the last month, I've been sometimes um, talking to my teammates, almost in an ironic way, but I was like, look, in this month, I got COVID. It knocked me off. I spent 20,000 in a new chair. I want to spend 5,000 by legalizing, by doing all the legal work of radiology. I had in things that got broken about 5,000 euros. So in this month extra, I've spent more than 30,000. I was like, you really have to learn to to dance in the rain, not wait for the sun.
yeah, that's it.
This is,
Mhm.
but it's sometimes you hear that as a quote, but once you are like in this sort of situation I mean, there's nothing else that I can do. You just have to accept things as they are. And if you have that perfectionist dream like I do, it can be frustrating, but it is what it is. And I think the trick here is to find the fun inside of it. And sometimes it's you can't. Sometimes you can find it. And when we are talking about, because we have to be honest, we are talking about some things that are not serious. But sometimes there are very, very serious things. Like, let's imagine you have to fire an assistant because of financial difficulty.
Mhm.
This is just more
Mhm.
dramatic, right? But and I was never in a position where I had to do so. But sometimes I do the exercise myself. Am I willing to accept that if that happened to me? Would I be willing? How would I react to that? Would I accept that? Would I see that as a personal failure? And I don't know how I would react to that. I don't know how I would. But I try to exercise myself. Especially, I am in a point where I try to exercise. Okay, are you ready to not to be up to the expectations of no one? You ready for that? Which is it's very interesting, right? Because many things can, especially in this pandemic, and I'm very lucky because I we could manage it through. We could even financially could still grow during the pandemic, which is something very interesting. But but some colleagues they really have some difficult issues, and it's sometimes people have or health problems like really hard stuff, and I because the things that we are talking here are just things that are light in the sense, just okay, you just all the profit goes away for 2 months or whatever. But I wonder, and because it's very easy for us to be talking here about this, but I wonder how it is when you really have some life-threatening situation or something that you need to fire someone, or I don't know, you have a fire in the office. I mean, some more dramatic stuff. I mean, it's I sometimes think of that, and you cannot think because you can only know how we will react during that period, and I think that also these periods, once they are overcome, you come out stronger, right? But it's something that I think a lot is that the capacity that we have for resilience is much higher than what we think.
Yeah.
It is much higher, and I think it is also important to convince ourselves of that. I think that we also need to understand that we are much stronger than we think, and sometimes it's just that extra step, and something that has been helping me a lot on these last months with all these issues that I was talking was I think you just need to be aware of what's the next step that you need to do. So I need to email this person. I need to talk to this person. So focus on that, because if you look at the end of the tunnel, it's scary.
Sometimes it's overwhelming, and it stops you from taking action, even if the action is like you said is still it's just sending an email or making a phone call.
Yes,
but it will stop you even.
It will slowly. Yes, and you get focus. Okay, I'm in progress. I was hearing something. I thought it was on Instagram that there was a guy that was being interviewed, and it says, "What's the biggest quote?" And he was quoting a book, the horse, the boy, the mole, and the fox. I think it was something like that. And basically, there was a boy in a horse in the forest, and it was dark, and the boy was like, "I can't see nothing in front of me. I can't see anything." And the horse asked him, "Well, can you see your next step?" And the boy says, "Yes, so take it." And this approach of doing things as you can at this point in time. I mean, if you can't run, just walk. If you can't walk, just crawl. But just keep moving forward, It may be something very little, but in the grand scheme of things, you are closer to that thing. And you don't have to do everything in one day. It's okay that you feel it sometimes it's too much, but it's just keep moving forward. Do what you can. And the next step, just focus on the next step. And I think this is something that is that is very helpful for when you are facing when you have to be resilient.
Yeah, and just one small note to what you said also regarding one of the tools of resilience is the positive mindset, and you just described it very, very well. So when you said that you had that problem with the suction, so you accepted the situation and then you kept your positive mindset. So that's very important
because you I think that when you complain too much, it gets to a point that your brain gets tired. You can't. Your brain, you get tired of yourself. If you detach from yourself, if you observe what actually is doing, it's not possible to live with a complaining guy inside your head.
But don't you have sometimes friends or colleagues telling you, yes, I'm so tired of myself. I'm even tired of myself.
Of course.
I say, okay, then stop it.
Of course. This is so common. I can't bear with myself. This is very, very common. And I just think we have to. I just think that even in the hardest situations, there's always something that positive that we can do. And sometimes if there isn't, at least have fun in the situation. Laugh a little bit of the situation.
Yeah,
Okay.
the po-
What's the next
positive
step? Okay, let's do it.
mindset is very important. And again, it has nothing to do with ignoring what goes
Yes.
wrong and with the negative
Mhm.
things, but it's about balancing. It's about balancing you, bringing you balance. And just to finish, because it's we are already more than 1 hour. Time flies. But just to finish on the last two tools for resilience that are very, very important, and that we already talked about them in other episodes. Take good care of yourself. You have to take good care of
Yes.
yourself if you want to be. So in the challenging situations, in adversity, you have to be well. And you it's not on the challenging situations or on the problem that you are going to take care of yourself. You have to do that when you are good. Yeah, on the day by day. Just take good care of yourself. Sleep well, eat well, exercise.
Have a good social network. Have a good
do your
good social
meditation.
network.
Yeah, yes. And another thing that we already talked about: know your boundaries and respect your boundaries. This is very, very important. Also, your personal boundaries at work, at home. This is very important. And I was going to finish with exactly what you just said: network is very important.
Yes.
Interact with others and share and explore and listen. I have feedback of colleagues that saying that when sometimes they have a problem, and they bring it to the table with other colleagues, and they explore solutions. So the part of the creativity, sometimes it doesn't come from you; it comes from your network of support. This is very important. Share your challenges, share the things that you are going through, because you will have support. Sometimes we want to take everything on our shoulders, but sometimes solutions, that creativity that you are not able to see, do the brainstorm and have that. So resilience, like you said, is not. I don't have the easy fix, but there's all of these tools that we just talked. They are very useful for you to be able to recover from adversity, and even if it's not immediate, it will bring you to a place where you can bounce back, and you can thrive. And of course, like you said, we are talking about light things. We're not talking about hard things, but it's not easy for the ones that are going through them. And I know some colleagues that are going through hard times. And COVID had that impact, and even before COVID, also already some dentistry is not an easy job, and sometimes when, especially when you are a clinic owner, a practice owner, there's a lot of responsibility always. But the message here is also to give this notion that you are not alone. And I still see some colleagues that sometimes isolate themselves, because dentistry can be very isolating, right? So you're working always on the same place, always seeing the same persons, but don't forget that you are not alone, and you have this network of support. And I observe this with when I give courses to dentists in group, that we don't talk only about the technical part. We talk about the other part, the feelings, the emotions, the challenges of the other part of the profession. And it's this magical thing happen, and because you feel like that, okay, I'm not the only one feeling this. I'm not the only one going through this, because you are not. I bet that if all the situations that you said, all the practical situations that you talked about, the ones that are listening, I'm sure they identify themselves with. So I
Yes.
think that's a very good message also for us to leave, and that I think we will also want to achieve this with this podcast and with us talking here about all of these issues, is that this is normal, and but you have these tools that if you use them, it will make your life easier, and you'll make your dentistry easier, and not only easier but happier. And that's what we were talking about here during all this episode. These are 3 skills that you can develop to bring you happiness. And this, again, for the most for the ones that
they are sleeping already.
No, and for the ones that have a really hard time accepting this is all science based. There are research. If you want, just contact me and I will send you the studies. But presence, gratitude, and resilience. Okay, you can add to this positive mindset, you can add to this curiosity, you can add to this compassion and self-compassion, you can add to this, of course, a sense of contribution to a greater good. But all of this together will make your days happier, a little bit more
easier
and happier. Yes. And just to finish, I don't know if you want to say something else, André?
No, I was about to say that this has been a very nice episode. I was looking forward, because whenever we get into the emotional part, I always feel that I still have so much to learn. So
yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Manuela.
No, thank you. It's always nice to talk to you about these things, because you always give. I've been saying this, and this is the truth, that the way that I feel is that you always bring the practical side to to my sometimes theoretical explanations. So it's really nice. And we're going to be talk about all of this in our conscious leadership course.
Yes.
I'm going to be talking about a lot about presence, about mindfulness, about bringing this mind-body connection to your work, and about developing your emotional intelligence, your body intelligence. And we are going to explore a little bit of these tools of resilience also in the course, in a very, very practical way. So again, we leave you the invitation to join us in our conscious leadership course. And if you want more information, just go to softbitesonline.com. No, softbites.online. Yeah.
Softbites.online. Okay. And on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th
of March. Of March. Sorry. I knew it was with the name. Okay, so we're going to say goodbye.
Thank you so much, Manuela.
Thank you so much for the ones listening, and thank you so much, André. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. See you next time.